All right. Well, welcome to the Willie Lawson Show here on iHeartRadio. We appreciate you joining us this evening or this morning or whenever you're listening. And I know you're listening because we get the reports. We get the reports. From the Russians. Okay, we don't get reports from Russians, but we get the reports. We know you're listening, so thank you so much. Listen, go to and what I need you to do is go to www.fightbackmedia.com and give us your email address. Why? So I can spam you with all sorts of crap. Okay, I'm not going to spam you with all sorts of crap, but we are putting together in 2016 a Fight Back Media newsletter of what we're up to, what we're doing with the contributions from folks and the cities that we're going to be in, because we're going to be in cities around America this year. We're thinking, now I've not asked my friend Nandra Enzi yet, but I'm thinking about going to New Orleans soon. We're headed to D.C. to see Ken McClinton. We'll be doing a show on the Exceptional Conservative Network. We're thinking about making a trip out to Las Vegas for Freedom Fest. So you want to be informed where we're going to be, where we're going to be live, where we'll be broadcasting live from. So, go ahead to fightbackmedia.com, and slip in scroll down until you see the contact information, and slip us your email address, and that way you can stay up to date with what we're doing and where we're going. How about that? Doesn't that sound great? And that in itself won't cost you a thing. If you want to donate, well, you will see those buttons. You can click on that and make that happen. But what we really want is your email address, so we can keep you up to date and abreast of where we're going to be live, because it's all about being live, making it happen face to face. We want to talk a little bit tonight about the Obama aftermath. When he was President Obama had his farewell speech, that he went to Chicago. Strangely enough, kind of back to where it all started. I think that was the idea, that it become full circle. This local kid, does well, does good. The community organizer attains the highest level of government, and does the highest level of community organizing and making things good for Americans and making good things. And I think that was supposed to be the story and the narrative. There's only one problem. Well, there's a number of problems, but the main problem is that none of it's true. You can the glitz and the glamour and the tears and the fake tears and the four more years chants from the crowd, all nonsense, all theater. A lot of the claims of successes were not claims of success. They were simply the acknowledgement of dismal failures. The dismal failure of the Affordable Care Act that continues to fail on a daily basis. It's interesting. At work today, I was talking to a young lady who is a 26-year-old millennial, hardworking girl, though. And has 3 jobs. I asked her if she was Haitian. Yeah, okay, I know that's racist. I know. But you know what? And she said, the best thing about Trump is that if he could repeal the Affordable Care Act, because what she has done is decided to take the penalty because she can't afford the health care now. She understands what the deal is. She understands that the Affordable Care Act needs healthy young people to pay for everybody else, and it does. And my son, who is a 26-year-old, has decided, who came out a couple of weeks ago and sat in the living room and said, "I'm just letting everybody know I'm taking the penalty." Okay, and it's funny. He went to church, and we were there for praise team rehearsal, and made the same announcement. And a good friend of his, and a good friend of mine at church, who is in his same age group, said, "Duh, been doing that since the beginning." So there are a lot of young people who are deciding to go ahead and pay the penalty, especially right now, while the penalty is less than and less intrusive and less harmful to their income and income stream than trying to pay for a product that they are being forced to pay for, that they can't afford, and the quality of that product is such an expense that they can't use it. I'm sorry that the president can't. And I know this is his signature piece of legislation, and this is the thing that he's holding his hat on the most is one of the worst things. It's one of the worst things. It's one of the biggest down parts or downsides of his presidency, of his 8 years in the White House, of his legacy, and we will all suffer the aftermath of the Affordable Care Act. That's what the deal is. We will still suffer the we will suffer the after effects of the Affordable Care Act. The Affordable Care Act has weaved its way into pretty much every aspect of our lives. You know, I think on the last show I talked about it, so you can go ahead and check out the archive on iHeart.com, iHeart.com, and you can also go to Spreaker and check out the archive there, and you'll find that I talked about I've spoken at length about how the Affordable Care Act is interwoven itself into all sorts of areas that we never thought it would. That we never thought it. We just couldn't even imagine. And how little it has to do with healthcare, and how it has to do with control, and how it has to do with pushing a frightening progressive Orwellian agenda. That it's a lot more about that, frankly, than it is about anything else. It's a lot more about that than anything else. And I'm running out of time in this first segment, but I mean the fact, and I mentioned, and I know I mentioned this in my last show because I listened to the show a couple days ago, well, this morning, and you know what? Here's the deal: the idea of my doctor, my nurse, at my doctor's office coming in and asking me questions about my sex life. Now, when I go to the doctor because I had triple bypass surgery 3 years ago. That 3 years ago, about this time, I had just woken up from a 3-day coma nap. I had just woken up from a 3-day coma nap. So when I go to the doctor, we talk about my blood pressure, and we talk about my cholesterol, and we talk about how I'm feeling, and we're talking about making sure that this calcification in my carotid doesn't become a problem, checking it every year, making stress tests, all that kind of stuff. And this nurse asked me if I'm having unprotected sex with somebody who's not my spouse. First of all, of course I'm not. But you know what your what your initial response is. None of your business. Why the F are you asking me these questions? And the only reason that I didn't get angry, because as she was asking them, she was like, "I apologize. We're supposed to ask these questions now." And she told me straight up that, you know what? Most times I just don't do it. Most times I just don't do it. I'm supposed to ask them, and I just don't do it. Said it's embarrassing. It's too much, and it doesn't have anything to do with why you're here. So that's part of the Affordable Care Act. That's part of Obamacare. That's part of the ACA. I just can't see how President Obama thinks that any of these regulations is something that he should be proud of in his legacy. And I don't understand how anybody else can be proud of that. I don't think how anybody else can be proud of the federal government forcing people to buy a product that they don't need or they don't want. Now, how is that pushing forward the cause of freedom and liberty in America? How is that making any more a free country? How is that possible? Well, it isn't possible. I mean, I think that a lot of folks don't really understand at all, frankly, what the job of the federal government is. The job of the federal government is, of course, to protect our personal freedoms and liberties, and a bill and a program like the Affordable Care Act doesn't do that at all. As a matter of fact, the way it's constructed, it does just the opposite. We are going to deal with that aftermath. We are going to have to deal with that aftermath, unfortunately, for quite a while. I'm sorry, I don't think that future President Trump and the Republicans can repeal that piece of legislation and end it in the first 100 days. I don't think they can do it in the first 365 days, in the first year or 2 years, even with a majority in the House and the Senate. I think it's so interwoven on purpose that it's like a ball of Christmas lights super glued together. And it was done on purpose that way. So I'm not going to stamp my feet and be upset if in the first 100 days it's not repealed, because I don't believe it will be. I don't believe that it will be. I don't believe that some of these draconian tax laws and tax regulations, like if you owe money to the federal government, you can't get a passport, because I guess everybody's a flight risk. I'm not sure how that pushes forth the cause of freedom and liberty in America. I'm not sure why that is. So if you got a student loan, you can't get you can't get a passport. If you're behind in your taxes, you can't more than $50,000. You can't get a passport. Why? Well, you shouldn't be traveling outside the country if you owe money anyway. You should be. That's the mentality. Now that doesn't have anything to do with the cause of freedom and liberty in America. And that's their job, to protect my personal freedoms, whether I owe taxes or not, whether I have a defaulted student loan or not. That's a hard thing to get, isn't it? But that's what we've turned into, those draconian regulations and laws. That's what we've turned into in 8 years. And nothing. Well, we're going to take a break. We'll take a break. I'm way over time. Let's take a break. We'll be back with more of the Will Austin Show here on iHeartRadio right after these messages. Innovation, inspiration, and imagination. 3 important characteristics that are important in any business, but especially in real estate, when you're looking for your forever home. And when that home is a new home, there are very, very many things that must go right. The financing must be on point. The furnishings must be on point. The location and neighborhood must be on point. And if you need someone to get that right the first time, you have to go to my friend Gary Knight at New Homes of Tampa Bay. That's New Homes of Tampa Bay. You can reach him on the web at www.newhomestpa.com. If you're looking for innovation through technology, inspiration and imagination through hard work, www.newhomestpa.com. There's no reason to wait for a special occasion to send flowers. No reason to wait until you miss a birthday or an anniversary or Valentine's Day to send flowers. All you have to do is get a hold of my friend Christine at Bloomingdale's Flower Shop, www.bloomingdays.com. That's www.bloomingdays.com. And tell her that you want to send the very best, that you care enough to send the very best. One of FTD's top florists in all of the United States, always in the top 100 of flower shops in the United States. That's Bloomingdale's Flower Shop, www.bloomingdays.com. Forget calling 1-800-something, www.bloomingdays.com. It's great to have partners, but it's even better when one of your partners is one of the finest urban conservatives in America. That's my friend Kevin Batts. Kevin Batts of Red River Chronicle TV. Red River Chronicle TV is taking the internet by storm. With fabulous production, amazing commentary, and incredible insight, Red River TV is the thing that we'll all be watching in 2017. They are the people, Kevin and his wife Janelle, are the voices that are going to make the difference in urban America in 2017. So get in on the ground floor. Go to www.redriverchronicle.com and subscribe to Red River TV today. All right, we're back. Thank you ever so much for coming to the Will Austin Show here on iHeartRadio. We appreciate you being here. Listen, we're talking about the aftermath of the Obama presidency. Can we survive it? Can we untangle ourselves? Can we disengage ourselves? One of the aftermaths, the part of the Obama legacy is $20 trillion in debt. $20 trillion in debt. Now, is part of that debt the legacy debt of the Iraq War from the Bush administration? Well, certainly it is, but did it get better? Knowing that people will use that, and that is true. However, did it get any better? Were we able to stop it? Were we able to go, you know what, we're already in debt with these major wars? And as I remember, 8 years ago, President Obama campaigned on ending these wars and bringing the troops home. That was part of his campaign promise. I remember that was part of his, because I used to run that spot on the Willie Lawson Show on Blog Talk Radio way back when. However, it didn't seem like he ended the war. He sort of told him that the violence was going to stop, gave him a deadline, which was not the smartest thing ever done from a military standpoint, from a strategic standpoint. But then opened up front somewhere else. Opened up the war in Afghanistan. So we moved from Iraq to Afghanistan instead of finishing the job in Iraq. We left a large power vacuum, and now Iraq is a crap hole. He's done the same in Afghanistan, and it's a crap hole. It was a crap hole to start with, but now it's a bigger crap hole, a more dangerous place than ever, giving birth to ISIS in Egypt, giving birth to the Muslim Brotherhood's ascension by not doing the right things in Egypt. I mean, the legacy or the legacy of the Obama presidency as it comes to the national debt of $20 trillion, more spending than any other president in the history of America. I was going down the list. We're talking about the auto bailout, where President Obama is convinced that he saved the auto industry, when the auto industry, quite frankly, could have saved itself. As a matter of fact, Ford, I don't. You know what? You guys remember these things? You remember the big three going to Congress with their hands out and asking for money and just getting lambasted? So much, in fact, that the Ford people said, "Yeah, you know what? Never mind. We're good. We can make this work," and didn't ask for any bailout money. Where Chrysler and General Motors said, "You know what? We are so screwed up. You know what? We have jacked this up so badly. We have to." And so much, in fact, that part of Obama's legacy is GM that was affectionately called for a long time Government Motors. Remember Government Motors? And then when the government basically took over Government Motors, part of the aftermath and part of the legacy there was that a lot of the people who were owed money by General Motors got stiffed. If you owned General Motors stock, you got stiffed. The old stock went worthless. It was sort of the gentrification of a major corporation. Because if you own stock, it's like if you own property, it was worth zero. So the money that they owed you, you didn't get. And to add insult to injury, the money that bailed them out came out of your pocket. And you didn't get the money that you put in if you were a stockholder or if you were somebody who was owed money. That was the aftermath. And that is part of the Obama legacy. Government Motors. Now, it is being, of course, spun as this great thing saving the American automobile industry. Now, what's interesting to me is that we have lost automobile companies before in America. I don't know if you remember American Motors. If you're as old as I am, you do. You remember the Pacer. You remember the Gremlin. You remember the Matador, the Ambassador. Some of the ugliest cars in the history of man. And they went away. I think they tried a merger with Fiat, and they went away. The people who worked for those companies either got other jobs, retired, took their pension, but it went away, and it's okay. Industries go through these periods of readjustments, where the technology and the competition change, and some of the companies who don't do business the right way, unfortunately, suffer. And unfortunately, some of the people who work for those companies suffer too. You know what? The people who made the horse carriages, what they should have been doing is planning on making the carriages for cars. They should have been thinking about making the interiors for cars. So when that made, when cars went into large production, they could have positioned themselves to look what Henry Ford and say, hey, listen, we know that you're going to need some interiors for these vehicles that you're making, these horseless carriages that you're making, and we are ready to be on the front line with you to help you make these vehicles. So you don't have to worry about the interiors. But did they? No, they didn't. So a lot of people who made the horse and buggies, the buggies for the horses, they went out of business. The buggy whips went out of business. They went away. Technology replaced them. It is part of our reality. Now, it's not fun, but it's part of the thing, isn't it? So now Barack Obama is saying part of his legacy is that he saved the auto industry. But what he did was basically delay the inevitable. And we're starting to see it. We're starting to see it with autonomous vehicles. We're starting to see it that some of these vehicles that came out, like the Chevy Volt. Remember the Volt? It was going to be the next greatest thing in the USA. That they were going to sell a million electric cars. That green energy was going to be the thing. That's part of the Obama legacy. Green energy. What did I tell you? Not ready for. We said this on our show a bunch of times, and so did a lot of other people. Not ready for prime time. Not ready for prime time. When I started this thing back in 2008, I started working for some people in my friend Eric Odom out of Chicago. We started talking about the Don't Go movement and the American Energy Act. This is back in March and April of 2008. And we talked about all those things in the American Energy Act that weren't ready for prime time. Wind power, not ready for prime time. Wave power or tidal power, not ready for prime time. Electric cars, not ready for prime time. I actually had a conversation with the former mayor of St. Petersburg, Florida, who was a proponent of electric cars, and I asked him, I said, isn't what you're really doing is taking your car and putting a long extension cord on it? And at the end of that extension cord is a coal-fired electric plant? Isn't that what electric cars really are? That in order to charge them so they'll go somewhere, on the other end of the extension cord is a coal-fired electric plant. So you're really not getting not nearly as much the carbon savings as you thought you were, because now if you get a million of those all plugged in, all charging their dangerously corrosive and polluting lithium batteries, you're going to make that coal-fired electric plant work even harder and be more polluting. So what are you doing? Well, this is part of the Obama legacy, which is really part of the Obama aftermath. More screwed up, disjointed energy policies that sound good on the outside but have no substance. No substance at all. Part of the Obama legacy, which has turned into the Obama aftermath. Things that we're going to have to continue to deal with. Aftermath is the stuff that you'll continue to have to deal with after the person who's caused it is gone. After they've gone and they're out of power, or they're out of the area or whatever, it's the aftermath of their actions that we're going to have to deal with. Now, I don't think you can just ignore what's happened. And maybe it isn't all bad. We were talking about the Affordable Care Act earlier, and there seem to be some provisions of the Affordable Care Act that people like, keeping their kid onto their policy until they're 26 years old, or at least having that option. It worked out for us. I'll tell you. I'll be honest with you. It worked out for us, and it worked out for us for simplicity, just for simplicity's sake. Frankly, I don't understand. I don't understand if I've got a relative, why I can't put any relative I want of any age on my insurance plan. Can somebody tell me? Can somebody email me? Somebody who's involved in the insurance industry, possibly email me at WLS860@gmail.com. That's WLS860@gmail.com, and tell me why I can't continue just to have my son on our policy if I choose to, if we're paying for it. If we're paying for it, what difference does it make? He's not a dependent, but what difference does it make if we're going to pay for it? It isn't like it's free. You know, they sold that whole thing like it was all going to be free and it was all going to be cheap. Well, it wasn't free, and it's nowhere near freaking cheap. So I don't understand if I choose to have him on my policy and I'm willing to pay for it, what difference does it make? See, that's something I never understood. I don't understand why I can't buy insurance across state lines. Somebody tell me why I can't do that. Some people are happy with provisions about pre-existing conditions, because if you change jobs, if you're like me, I had, like, again, I told you 3 years ago I had triple bypass surgery, so I am a cardiac patient. I am somebody who suffers from congestive heart failure. That's the diagnosis. So I have that. You don't get over congestive heart failure. You don't get cured from it. You just have it. They fix the problem so you don't die, but you still have it. Not that I'm suffering any at all. That I'm not suffering any after effects. Except I need copious naps. I think I just got used to taking naps my first year of recovery, so now I need copious naps. But so if for some reason my wife changes jobs and we go to a new insurance thing, when they get my medical history, they go, "Oh, I don't know if we can cover him. He's got a pre-existing condition." So a lot of people got screwed when they got new jobs. because themselves and their loved ones who had cancer, who had heart disease, who had whatever, weren't coverable under the new plans, or it was extremely expensive because they had a pre-existing condition. Now, the old insurance company was glad to get rid of them, but the newer insurance companies were reticent about taking them on, and for good reason. My situation is not that way. The first insurance company has really paid the bulk of my treatment. They paid for the surgery, so they really paid for and the 18-day hospital stay. So they've paid the bulk of what people are going to pay for moving forward. The new insurance company, frankly, will probably only be stuck with the burial cost. I know that sounds terrible to say out loud, but that's probably more true than not. People like certain aspects of the Affordable Care Act, and the Republicans like certain aspects of the Affordable Care Act, and are going to try to use them. And those are two. Keeping your son or daughter on or being able to keep them on your plan until they're 26. I don't know why you can't keep them on forever. I don't understand. Or the pre-existing conditions. And I think that they're going to have to wrap whatever new they do around those two things without a personal mandate. I don't know how you do that. But it's the personal mandate, quite frankly, that is the most offensive. That is the most egregious thing. That if you are an American, a free American, that the choice of having health care, not having, I shouldn't say health care, having health insurance is no longer a choice that you can make as a free person in America. That if you don't have it, then you will pay a penalty for not having it. The idea isn't, and of course there are a lot of people who are buying into, well, it's better to have than not to have. Well, if it was so much better to have, then why didn't you get it beforehand? You'd get it on your own. If you thought it was okay to do, if you thought it was a good idea, you'd do it on your own. You wouldn't have to be told to do it from the barrel of a gun. You just go out and do it. This is the Obama legacy, which is, unfortunately, right now, our Obama aftermath. These are some of the things that we are going to have to find a way to extricate ourselves from as we move forward. And I think that we'll probably only have 2 years. There could easily be a change in Senate leadership. Easily. If the Democrats get it together, if Captain Cupcake and the Snowflake Warriors would just shut the hell up for about 6 months, maybe the Democrat Party could find a way to get back to its feet and to mount a decent midterm campaign for the House and for the seats that are available in the Senate. Maybe they can. They won't be able to do it. They will not be able to do it if indeed Captain Cupcake and the Snowflake Warriors don't shut the hell up. Another part of the Obama legacy, which unfortunately is for us the Obama aftermath. The hypersensitivity of the left embodied in organizations like Black Lives Matter. That is truly part of his legacy and part of the aftermath. Black Lives Matter is not going to go, the concept of Black Lives Matter is not going to go away when President Obama goes away, when he leaves the White House and goes down the street to wherever he's living. He's going to stay in Washington, D.C., probably until the last daughter finishes school there. The older daughter graduated this year and is going to hang out before she goes to college. She's accepted to Harvard because she's a legacy. Her dad went to Harvard. So he's going to hang out in Washington, D.C. until probably the younger daughter graduates from high school, I'm guessing. And the older daughter finally goes to college, goes to Harvard. So he's going to hang out in D.C. Now, did he move back to what is now the murder capital of America? Chicago, Illinois? No. Oh, hell no. Oh, hell no, he didn't move back there. Or more people are getting killed there on a weekend than they did in friggin' Afghanistan. No. Not moving back there. Hell, that's dangerous. Get caught up in a drive-by? For me, that says something right there. He was a community organizer in Chicago. Was supposedly loved and adored in Chicago. His wife, Michelle, supposedly loved and adored in Chicago. One of purportedly the greatest cities in America. Is he going back to Chicago or some suburbs of Chicago? No. Staying right there in D.C. Right there in D.C. So here's what happens. You poor slobs that live in D.C. So when the president is on the move and the ex-president is on the move, you know what's not on? You know who's not on the move? Your ass in traffic. That's all there is to it. When the president is on the move and the ex-president is on the move in D.C., what's not moving is your ass in traffic. Yeah. Ain't that... You hadn't thought about that, had you? No, you hadn't thought about that. I believe that Joe Biden is going home, and that's cool. He needs to go home. I think part of being in office in D.C. is when you're done with your term, take your ass home. You're all done. Thanks for your service. Thanks for playing. Go home. But that's not going to happen. President Obama, soon to be ex-President Obama, former President Obama, and former First Lady Michelle Obama and their young daughter will be in Washington, D.C. Now, will it be possible for him not to comment? Now, think about this. D.C. has already said they want to become the 51st state. Barack Obama is staying in Washington, D.C. and not moving. Is there a chance? This just came to me. Is there a chance that Barack Obama wants to be the first governor of Washington, D.C.? Could he get elected in a landslide? Who would run against him? What Democrat would run against Barack Obama as the governor of Washington, D.C., the first governor of Washington, D.C.? We're talking about legacy. We're talking about aftermath. You're talking about how Barack Obama is as narcissistic as anybody, as Donald Trump, as anybody, that it would make history that Barack Obama was the first black president, actually, really, the first biracial president, and that he would be the first biracial president, or the first biracial governor, or indeed the first governor of the state of the District of Columbia. Is that why he's staying? I don't know why he's staying. I don't know if that's why. My guess is no. My guess is no, that's not why he's staying. Sort of makes sense, though, doesn't it? Kind of makes sense, doesn't it? Huh. Interesting. All right, listen, we're going to take a little break. We'll be back with more of the William Lawson Show here on iHeartRadio.com and Spreaker.com. We'll be right back. Innovation, inspiration, and imagination. 3 important characteristics that are important in any business, but especially in real estate, when you're looking for your forever home. And when that home is a new home, there are very, very many things that must go right. The financing must be on point. The furnishings must be on point. The location and neighborhood must be on point. And if you need someone to get that right the first time, you have to go to my friend Gary Knight at New Homes of Tampa Bay. That's New Homes of Tampa Bay. You can reach him on the web at www.newhomestpa.com. If you're looking for innovation through technology, inspiration and imagination through hard work. www.newhomestpa.com. There's no reason to wait for a special occasion to send flowers. No reason to wait until you miss a birthday or an anniversary or Valentine's Day to send flowers. All you have to do is get a hold of my friend Christine at Bloomingdale's Flower Shop, www.bloomingdays.com. That's www.bloomingdays.com. And tell her that you want to send the very best, that you care enough to send the very best. One of FTD's top florists in all of the United States, always in the top 100 of flower shops in the United States. That's Bloomingdale's Flower Shop, www.bloomingdays.com. Forget calling 1-800-something, www.bloomingdays.com. It's great to have partners, but it's even better when one of your partners is one of the finest urban conservatives in America. That's my friend Kevin Batts. Kevin Batts of Red River Chronicle TV. Red River Chronicle TV is taking the internet by storm. With fabulous production, amazing commentary, and incredible insight, Red River TV is the thing that we'll all be watching in 2017. They are the people, Kevin and his wife Janelle, are the voices that are going to make the difference in urban America in 2017. So get in on the ground floor. Go to www.redriverchronicle.com and subscribe to Red River TV today. All right. Well, thanks so much for coming today. We appreciate it. Listen, tell your friends. You know what? It's funny. I was looking for ways to do some internet promotion, and I was emailing some companies back and forth, and they wanted like $500 to make sure we had Facebook likes. And I'm like, $500 for Facebook likes? To make sure that we can get fans. And I thought to myself, because I always think to myself, and I said, but I've got fans. I just want more. $500. So I always said to myself, well, let's go back to what works. And what we know that works is that if you like it, your friends will like it. If you listen to any of this show and you say, you know what, that was pretty good. I like that. I like that guy. Share me with your friends. Make the introduction. And the best way is just to send just click that sideways V thing and share us to your Facebook page, share us to your Twitter account, share us to your Instagram account or your Snapchat or whatever else you got. You can just go old school and put the link in an email. Yeah, man, that's old school. Email, I know. Email is now old school. I'm just telling you that it is. There are companies out there still promoting email campaigns, but know that email is old school. Email is only just a tick over putting a postcard in the mailbox. But however you want to do it, however you want to share us with your friends, I appreciate it, because that really makes a difference. That's going to continue to make the difference on how successful we are, is that you share us with your friends. Again, if you like it, there's a good chance I like it too. All right, we got to get out of here. So until we see you again, go out there and learn something, love somebody, and for goodness sakes, now take care of yourselves. Remember this: mainstream media is dead. You are correct, sir. All right, we'll see you when we see you. We'll do another show tomorrow night. Be sure to tune in to our show we're doing at 9 o'clock in the morning for the Exceptional Conservative Network. That's Monday at 9 o'clock. You can listen to it here on my Fight Back page, or you can listen to it on the exceptionalconservative.com See you when we see you.